Alright, what we have here is a Quadro M4000, a bit of an older card. It's 8 GB. It's a slow card, but it definitely does the job. What we're doing today is just a bit of routine maintenance. As you can see here, or as you may not be able to see here, the fan has a tiny bit of dust. That doesn't bother me so much. What I was noticing is at the moment I'm doing folding at home. I checked the temperatures and it was around 84, 85 degrees. So I reckon I could probably get a better score by keeping this thing cooler and just clean it up, replacing the thermal paste. So I'm just going to quickly undo this. This card is still a bit warm, so I probably shouldn't be doing it while it's still so warm. However, let's get on and do this. So we've got the 4 screws on the top, which I believe are the ones that are going to hold the heatsink on. I'm probably doing this completely backwards and should maybe do some of these screws first. And it's typically the springs with this, the screws with the springs are the ones that hold most of it together. So let's have a quick look, see what we can do. Yeah, so that's not wiggling whatsoever. So this will be the first time of me taking this apart. So you get to have the little adventure with me to see how on earth we do this. I really hope we don't have to take it entirely apart. Let's give it a wiggle here. No. Okay, so we've got a few more screws. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I think that 10th one, yeah, that 10th one probably needs to come out as well. So let's give this a go. I'm hoping all these smaller screws are exactly the same size. Let's have a look. So I've got a screw that is tiny. So I'll just stick it in my little tray. Retrospectively, I should have watched a teardown video first, but where's the fun in that? So far the screws look exactly the same, which is a good thing. Yep, that's the same. I'm taking these off in no particular order. This screw here, in theory, should let me take the front off, the front face off. That's the same screw again. And no, it doesn't, because there appears to be a silver screw right here. So I've got to remember the silver screw holds the face in, and that is an entirely different screw. So let's see if that comes off. That is not budging whatsoever. That could pose a slight problem. Let's see if it'll lift whatsoever. Okay, so now I'm doing the 4, which would be the heatsink ones. I'm hoping these are the same, but if not, either way, I'm going to put them next to the other screws that were on the outside of the, were holding the heatsink on. Typically graphics cards, or simpler ones, are easier to take apart. However, all these screws are undone. This front bit isn't budging. So we've got 3 additional screws on this black plate here, here, here and here. So I will undo them as well and see if that makes a difference. Oh, nearly lost one. That is a lot smaller, so I'm definitely going to keep them aside. So that's them 3 removed. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, that's good. Okay, so that's all the screws from the bottom I can see I've removed. And I'm going to flip it over. I had something move, which is a good start. It could have just been the fan moving. So we're going to have a look for more screws now, and it appears there are a few torque screws. Something's definitely come loose. I think that may have been the fan assembly I've managed to successfully undo. I really don't want to have to get out the other tools, but I may have to. I'll be right back. And I'm back, as if by magic. So seeing the quick disassembly guides, I YouTubed it, as you usually do. It turns out that you only needed to undo these 2. These 4, 1, 2, these are the ones with the springs on. However, the rest of them, I've grabbed my beautiful iFixit toolkits, and apparently all you need to do is undo these, the tiny, tiny screws, which I'll place over there. You may notice that the lighting's changed as well. That's because I noticed the previous clip wasn't lit so well. So tiny, tiny, tiny screws. Please don't lose these. So maintenance like this is a second-hand card. I got it from a business that was basically getting rid of the machine it was attached to. So I grabbed it and thought, yeah, it looks alright. It looks alright when I initially installed it in the machine. So I didn't bother actually like taking it apart, cleaning it, etc, etc. So this will be a good time to open it up now that it's actually getting some good work. So the inside, you can see it's a bit dusty. I'll clean that off in a bit. Stick that to the side for the moment. What you can see here is you can get a better view of the fan. The fan is the fan can do with a bit of TLC. So I'm going to see if anything else is loosened up. Oh no! So I did loosen it up a bit when I was undoing the screws at the bottom. That is absolutely fine. In fact, it makes it easier. What I'm going to do now is hopefully it won't be too much. It may be a bit of a pain in the backside. I may not do that. But what one will do is that undo this screw, this screw, this screw, this screw. You know what, I'm going to do it and regress it later. So go back to my other screwdriver, grab this, undo the little bracket which appears to be holding the wire down. If the job's going to be done, you've got to do it properly. Oh goodness me, this one's stubborn. There you go. Let's see if that does anything whatsoever. Or does that just open the housing a bit more? So I'll take these ones off as well, and I'm going to keep it with the little shield it's got going on. This is covering up the 6-pin power. Once again, this is somewhat guessing because none of the tutorials were particularly in English, so I was having to follow just pictures essentially. So hopefully I should now, yes, just be able to lift this bit out. So that is the power connector, showing me underneath it's right there, the fan connector. So I'm pulling that out of the way. Let's see if I can pull this up without breaking the wires. If I break the wires, I'm going to be super sad, and the wires are good. That little fan is now free to be cleaned. Fantastic. So I'll stick that aside. The screws are still here for the actual assembly. I'll just shift these ones a bit over. It gives us a... oh, and it took the little bracket off as well. That was holding this together. So it goes that way around. Or does it go the other way around? Nib facing in. Yeah, that makes far more sense. Nib facing in. So I'm going to leave that power cable there. It is a bit dusty, but hopefully because I've undone those ones at the bottom, I should now be able to pull this up with ease, which I can. That is wonderful, and the thermal paste is still a bit shiny. It may have been good for a bit longer, but you know. What I have to clean up this thermal paste is, don't do what I did. Now it's going to be stuck on my thumb for at least a few days. Is I'm going to get a bit of tissue paper and just slowly wipe away this old thermal paste. This is to ensure that the actual chip here, I'll show you what this chip is. The paste is basically to make sure that chip there gets good contact with the heatsink, so it can transfer heat effectively, efficiently throughout. Okay, so that's actually really still quite damp on the heatsink side. Perhaps it didn't need doing, but you never. Well, better safe than sorry. Since I've got it apart, might as well. The coverage was okay. I'm just going to take this off. That's somewhat better, and I've got it on my thumb. This is going to require a lot of hand washing afterwards. And what I like to do now, you don't have to do it, but it's always a nice thing to do. I've got a bit of isopropyl alcohol, 99, I think it's 99%? Yeah, 99.9. What I'm going to do now is give the tissue a bit of a dab. Well, dab didn't go out to plan, but that should be fine. I'm going to quickly rub this on here just to remove any of the any odd thermal paste. It did pick up a tiny bit. You may not be able to see it on camera, but that is slightly darker than it was before. I'm now going to quickly do the same on the chip itself on the board. Because it's 99.9% IPA, it should dry rapidly. And now, that's that side, that's all good. Let me quickly put this away because a clean workstation is the best workstation to work with. Okay. So, give me 1 second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get out my air duster and quickly give this a quick blow over, and I will be right back. Okay, there we have the fully blown out card. So I took a lot of the dust from around here, gave it a quick blow over. This also helps speed up the IPA dissipating. Now of the interesting job, which is the fan. One of the reasons I took this out and wanted to monitor the temperatures was because I noticed there was a slight fan rattle where it was obviously having a hard time keeping up. So what we're going to do here is we're going to grab our fan. As you can see here, it's seen better days. It has definitely seen better days. So what I want to do is I'm going to grab an earbud, no, you can't really call them earbuds, cotton bud. And I'm going to quickly give each of the blades a wipe either side. You've got to be really careful with these because they can be fragile. Just realising now I'm doing it over my clean surface after emphasising a clean surface. Where was I? There I was. So this GPU is in my machine, which I use for Plex, and now folding at home. At the moment I am folding for Alzheimer's research. In the future, if they ever do MS research, I will be putting it towards that. But for now, I'm sure everybody's lives have been touched once or twice by somebody who has Alzheimer's and dementia, or dementia. So you know how rough it can be. You know what it's like to see somebody just vanish and not become who they are anymore and not even recognise themselves or you. So this bit will take a moment, and I'm hoping through the power of editing I'll be able to speed this up for you so it's not as tedious a task as it is for you as it is for me. Should be facing towards the camera for this one. So just a few blades are done. I should have probably swapped that out already. So I'll pop that over there, grab myself a new bud, and continue on. Where was I? Oh, I've nearly done a whole round. Nearly done all the fan blades. Okay, as you can see, it is substantially better at the moment. There is still a lot of dust ingrained like in between here and over here. So I'm going to swap over, clean up my workstation a bit, and give it a quick blow with the air compressor, and give it a quick run through over with IPAing the custom buds again, and I'll be back. Okay, as you can see, it is substantially better at the moment. There is still a lot of dust ingrained like in between here and over here. So I'm going to swap over, clean up my workstation a bit, and give it a quick blow with the air compressor, and give it a quick run through over with IPAing the custom buds again, and I'll be back. Alright, I gave it a blow over. It made a massive difference, as you can see. But what I'm going to do now is I've got my friend isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going to give it a quick run over. It won't be perfect. It definitely won't be perfect in the end. This is purely maintenance. So I just wanted it to be able to live a bit longer, perform thermally better, and give my cores folding at home a fighting chance with this machine. Even if this makes no difference whatsoever to the thermal performance of the card in the machine, because it doesn't have the best cooling, at least I'll know that this has been done, and it will, well, new thermal paste after several years is always worth it anyway. So it'll probably do short term, give me a bit more of a boost, but it means that I know that I have performed maintenance on it, which gives me a bit of reassurance. And I know if it breaks, it's my fault completely. So you can see here the IPA is wet and is rapidly drying. That is how quickly IPA will dry. Do the same for the other side. Notice a bit more dirt. Okay. Stick that aside. Controversial, but I'm going to do it anyway. I've got this beautiful stuff called GT85. Let's see if it actually does like electronics. Rusted parts, prevents squeaking, penetrates and lubricates. Inaccessible parts. Displaces water, dries out moisture from electrical systems, starts wet engines, can be used on bike gear transmission, can be... You know what? It drives out moisture, so that's all that matters. Some may say there's existing oil in the fan, so why are you doing this? It'll give the end product a nice shine as well. Not that I'll be able to see it, but it'll give the end product a nice shine. So there we go, that's the thing oiled over. I did try and make sure that I actually got some inside the fan there. I'm going to give this a quick wipe over just to get the heavy bits of the oil off. Give the cable a nice little wipe down as well, even though it isn't necessary. Cool. So now I can set that fan aside. Now what have we got left? We got a panel here. As you can see, it's fairly dusty. Any bit of thermal performance improvement is always welcome, even though this amount of dust probably wouldn't have made a tiny bit of difference. And I'll just tidy up this top bit as and when I'm done. So say goodbye to that, pop this back over here, bring back over the chip which I was working on. May get a cotton bud and just give it a nice, the chip a nice little bit of clean. What we're going to do is, once this is clean and the IPA has dried off, is reassemble it. But we're going to have to put some new thermal compound on here first. I've got some MX2 laying around, so I'm going to use some MX2 today. As suspected, this didn't make a tiny bit of difference, however. In for a penny. While I'm here, I'll just give the surrounding case a bit of a wipe down as well. We've got some thermal pads under here, so I'm guessing at some point this mid case is meant to be able to come off. However, I'm not taking the mid case off today. Okay, I'll give this a quick blast and I'll be back. And okay, now my beautiful viewers, we will be doing everything but backwards. So first of all, I'm going to get this fan. I'm going to place it here where it was before, facing the direction it was before. I'm going to try and feed these cables back through. I really hate doing these, but in you go. Make sure you're seated properly. Thank you very much. And I'll run this back through here. This is going to be the sod one, that takes forever. Which way do you want to go? This is why I hate doing this. Come on. It's not that difficult, it's just a pain. And push that through. Make sure that is nice and seated, just as it was before. I'm hoping that's not upside down. Basically, we just want to make sure this is pushed all the way down, because if it's not, when it comes to screwing things back in, you are going to be screwing things up by probably running a screw through the cable. This doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem like it's fitting right. Alright, time to review my earlier footage. Okay, I have reviewed the old footage. It isn't a particularly... It doesn't look balanced on the inside, but on the outside it's fine. On the inside it looks a bit weird, but I've reapplied the little shield there to keep it going. We can now get this little piece here, which was holding the fan wire in place. Stick it back in. I might give that a little wipe actually. Bit of dirt on there. Won't make a performance difference, but for me, let's slide that back in there. Now that's slid back in there, we'll get these two Phillips head screws and tighten this bit back down. This is a stubborn one apparently. Give that one a little turn, stick the other side in, give that a little bit of turn. Now tighten them both up. Maybe that one doesn't want to go in. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. There we go. So that one's down. Let's do this one as well. Fantastic. No pun intended, but that fan wire is now there. I'm hoping I haven't put too much pressure on it. I shouldn't have. Okay, so next step, what I want to do is I want to grab this again. It has got a bit of dust in it, I've just realised. So I'll quickly give that a blow. Excuse the noise. Fantastic, that was a pun, a terrible pun at that. So now you can see this is all clean again, so that's good. Now I've got to remember which way round it was oriented. It may have been this way. Yeah, that fits all right. That'll do beautifully. So now for the most controversial part of doing any sort of build is putting on the thermal paste. And no matter what you do, no matter what method you use, somebody will always hate you for this. Bad practice tip of the day: remove your thermal paste lid with your teeth. This is non-conductive, so if it overspills, it doesn't matter so much. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a quick blib. This is probably far, far too much. With a tiny bit of overspill, then I'm going to suck that back in. Because as cheap as thermal paste is, you know, better not waste it. Then I'm going to take a cotton bud. I know they're slightly absorbent, which will probably help me in this case. And make sure this is pasted all over. This probably isn't actually the best tool either, so do what we can. Usually I use a bit of card. Let's see if I've got a bit of card lying around. Yes, I do. There's a bit of card here. Nice even spread across the die. I say nice even spread, that's if it wants to even spread. Terrible technique by Mark. You can tell it's been a while since I've done this. And I'm now going to commit a sin. Tiny, tiny bit more. I'd rather have a tad too much and get proper coverage than not have enough and don't get enough coverage. Alright, it's not fantastic. However, the pressure from the heatsink, once it's screwed back in, should do the trick. So I'm going to pop that down there, grab our beautifully cleaned heatsink, and pop it back on. Wiggle it into place, apply a tad pressure, flip this back over, and now I'm going to reinstall these springs, which should hold it in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinstall these diagonally, not fully screwing them in each time, and this will allow even pressure across the chip when reinstalling the heat. And that's gone. And that will apply even pressure over the chip when installing it. One thing about springs is they're springy. Come on. Thank you. These weren't particularly tight when I unscrewed them, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do them up a bit, but not stupidly tight. They don't need to be stupidly tight, they just need to be strong enough to do their job. So hopefully now that's installed, that should be good. And now what I want to do is, because it's being a pain in the backside, me holding these fans up, these fan screws up, I'm going to grab the little screws for the fan and screw them back in as well. This is going to be the difficult bit. I really hope I don't lose one of these screws. Once again, I think I'm going to have to use the same method, just put them all in and tighten them up again. All in all, this is actually a fairly easy little bit of maintenance. I made it a lot harder for myself on doing all the other screws. But you know, you don't learn until you do. Come on. Screw, screw, screw. And redo this one. Screw, screw, screw. Make sure this one's down. Yeah, that's good. That's good, and that one's good. Okay, so we now have the fan screw back in. We've got the heatsink installed. And from this part, this was all that was there. So what we can do is we can grab our topper again, and we can pop the top back in. Now for the fun part of aligning it all again. There we go, beautiful. iFixit toolkit or screwdriver, and what I'm going to do is just do what I did earlier, but in reverse. And fingers crossed we can do this entire thing without having a screw left over. Or losing a screw, in fact. After this one, it's the final screw. That final screw in for the faceplate. Okay, faceplate installed. Now we did have a small silver screw somewhere, which I said I wouldn't lose, and I'm hoping I haven't lost. And I haven't, it's over here. Thank you very much, organisation. So I'm going to quickly screw that back through. Probably help if I use the right screwdriver, wouldn't it? Fantastic. And now to re-screw in the screws that I didn't mean to unscrew because it turns out it wasn't necessary. But I'm going to put the lid back on my thermal paste first. Either way, taking them all out. Well, that was dumb because that one doesn't go there, Mark. These 4 screws I placed over here, talking about keeping everything organised. So I keep them organised. It's 4 screws. And that one, once again diagonally. That one. This one and this one. And now for the rest. I kind of blunted the end of this one. It's an old screwdriver set. So let's quickly retire that one. I'll pop this back into its slot, which is here. And get an appropriate screwdriver to do the rest of them. I believe it'll be this one. And now Yeah, that feels good. And now I can screw the rest. Oh, that is so much nicer. Are these screws different? He says, somewhat concerned. They didn't look any different. I'm just hoping they all now fit or all find themselves at home. An incorrect screw in an incorrect place is the difference between making it work and making it not work. Also, I don't want this thing spinning up and falling apart because it's not screwed down enough. So I've got 3 remaining screws. So I'm going to be guessing one goes here. One goes, get a grip on it, here. And the last one goes here. Alright, that is all the screws. That has now been screwed back together. No rattling sound, that's always a good sign. And I'm going to give it a quick wipe down. Just grab myself a wipe. Wipe down the top here. Beautiful. And I'll put the thermal paste bit of cardboard here as well to cover it up. What I also want to do now is, you don't really have to do a lot of what I've done today, is grab a tiny bit of IPA and just give the contacts a quick wipe down. The contacts aren't particularly dirty, but if contacts are making better contacts, that's good. Just got to be really careful. Wonderful. And now we move on to testing. I will be right back, hopefully with a screen grab of what's going on. So we're back in. This has been running overnight now, so let's see how the temperatures are doing. We'll quickly hop over to Task Manager, hop over to Performance. Let's see that my CPU's chugging away quite nicely. We'll go down to here, we can see it's now running at 74 degrees Celsius. That is a drop of 10 degrees, so that maintenance was well worth it. So until next time, goodbye.